make sure to click content so it's selected, and it's actually easier doing this so you don't actually embed it under another folder like I did. So right click, new folder, and I'm going to call it audio. And once I do that, I'm going to go ahead and double click audio, and then I can start bringing in my stuff. So I'm going to right click and go to import. So I need to go and find those test ones I made that are 16-bit, so I know test 2 is. I'm just going to click open. So it's going to bring in test 2, and I can place it just like that if I wanted to. Or I could end up making a sound cue from it. And with the sound cue, I can then do a lot more controls. So if I right click it and do create cue, it's going to just call it test 2 cue. I'm going to click on that. It's going to pop up over here. And this gives me a lot more controls. So the first thing you can look at is if I click on output, I can control the volume. So I can make it louder, or I can make it pitch up or pitch down, depending on what I want to do. But I can also add quite a few things. Like one of the things that is fun to add is modulator. And then to use modulator, I'm just going to drag this off, plug it in there, and plug from output to output. So that goes ahead and does that. And then if I click on modulator, I can actually do a bunch of different random things. So like pitch minimum is 0.2, pitch maximum is 15. See? So we can just have it sit there and it'll randomly switch between those every time it plays this sound. So that's pretty simple, and then you can just hit save and that makes it for us. And then we can use the cue inside the world, or we can use just the raw audio file. The cue is the only thing that you can actually have all your cool edits on though. So remember, putting an audio file into the world is if I just click it and put it there, and like I say, it's an ambient sound, so it should always be playing. I can just leave it there, and when I hit play, it goes off, right? Fine. But I can also tell it to use attenuation, remember? So if I click on override attenuation, it then shows me how it's playing out. So this circle is how far the sound actually travels. And then this is where it's at full volume. So I can override all of that right here. So I can change my fall off distance to like 2200, which is still pretty far. But if I move my player start out of the way, let's see if I even still hear it. Oh. So you could hear that it was a lot lower just because of the fall off. So again, if I click on that, I can keep adjusting this till I get it just like I want it. So maybe 1,000. So that puts it inside of there. So now my player spawn is entirely outside of it, and I do not hear it until I run over into the sound. So that's one thing to keep in mind if you want that to keep happening. Now remember, if you have a sound that's maybe about a minute long, but you want it to loop, you don't want it to stop playing. Like I would not do that with a short sound because people can tell. You can tell it's looping. So if I just double click this and come back in, we can go ahead and just check looping and save. So now it's just constantly repeating, right? So, and with a longer sound file, that's fine. But with something that short, that is not a good use of that. Okay, so again, that's just a little bit on sound cues, and if you double click sound cue, you have a lot of stuff you can put in there, right? Like the mixer will allow you to put multiple sounds together, and I could even have it come from this modulated sound into this before it comes over here, and then I can go and grab like another sound. You can't put a cue inside of a cue, so I can grab this collapse 2 and put that, and it mixes them together. Right? So I could even have a different modulator just for the collapse, And this modulator, we're going to have it a max pitch of -5 and a pitch minimum of -1, and then a volume max of 3. So, right, so you can see how that changed a lot. So volume minimum 0.2, volume maximum 0.5, play. Right, so it made that collapse sound very, very different. And of course I can just, if I don't want this to come into the mixer, I can just kill it. So that way all I have is that new collapse sound, which sounds pretty cool. Alright, so that's kind of all there is to cues. They're very, very simple, and they're a lot of fun to use. Just, mess around and have a good time. So save, and that's it.